Crate Pro is primarily custom creating software. However, we've included a component that allows you to create skids and pallets. When you are creating a new design, you will go to the Design module, which is here, click on New, and now you need to select, are you looking for crates, skids, or pallets? If any item fits any of these published standards, you can use these shortcuts. But we'll go to pallets. In the pallets, there are different types. They're indicated by stringers or block pallets, whichever you prefer, and if they have wings, double wings, no wings, or so on. So you can choose the default style of pallet that you're going to use. Once you've selected it, you click Go. That is getting you to the default template for this style. Generally, the dimensions of the pallet, and this is metric, you can put in whatever dimensions you'd like to because you are a custom creating company / pallet company, so perhaps you want to change it to 1500. The first number is the length of the stringer right here. If it's blocks, it is basically this direction where the blocks would be. So we're calling it out differently than a pallet company would call out, who might measure the distance here and then backwards. However, to stay in line with crating companies, the common length is the longer length, which is the stringer length, is going to be the first number here, which is something, again, it's a little bit different for pallet companies, but it's very familiar for crating companies. Any dimensions you want. The actual material that you might use to build this pallet comes in one of 5 material groups. There are some default values in there for certain types of material, but when you get the program, you will put in your common material groups. You may not have 5, you may only have 1 or 2. That's fine, and you can rename these. Here is a default gap that's between the boards. So this gap is based on typical pallet standards, but you may say, well, I don't need that small a gap, so I'm going to go ahead and change it on the lower deck. Upper, I'll leave it that way. So this gives you a chance to set how many boards are going to be placed in the upper deck or on the lower deck, and you can change it. Information or fields down here don't affect the style of the pallet or any of the construction. They are just simply a way for you to add more information should it be needed on the cut sheets. When done, we click on Go. Crate Pro is going to go through your inventory, customers, users, and preferences modules and use your preferred settings. So what you will first receive when you design that pallet are based on those settings. Anything that's not accurate or what you want, you can either change it here, but if it's a matter of your company policy, we are going to want to change it in preferences, so next time Crate Pro uses your policy. All right, deck board 1, this is the top of the pallet. It's showing you the default material based on the material group we picked, how many we need, and the number or the length that we need. This is the amount of space between each board, in this case 68 mm. Or this is the total amount of space on the entire pallet. Well, I may need less. I could have more space, so I don't need as many boards. Whenever you make a change, you will see that change here. If your material group did not have the right material, you can swap it out here. So you have the ability to make many changes on the fly just for this specific design. Here I've got a lot more space, but I may say, you know what? I really don't need that many either. Whoops, if I go the wrong way, I'll switch it here. Okay, and it shows me the amount of space. You can also just enter whatever number it is that you're looking for. Same thing, change the material. Here are the stringers. Crate Pro is using the default stringers based on your settings. And that's all we really need here. We could be done. We can go to print email, and we have different reports that we can print. We can print a cut list by the material, right? And this is going to be for your sawyers, the people who are actually cutting the wood. They're getting the lumber pieces first, largest goes first. Then we also have fasteners. In some cases, you don't even want the fasteners to show up on the cut sheet. It's a waste of ink. That's also a setting in Crate Pro not to have to show it. We've got a cut list by panel, which is pretty commonly used by people who are building pallets. This is the upper deck. The stringers are obviously in the middle, And then you have the lower deck, and same thing. If you don't want the fasteners to appear because you always use the same ones, no problem. You do get your pallet length, width, and so on here. And your tear weight is everything that is the pallet is made of, all the way down to staples and nails. So your weights are going to be correct. You can also do a style diagram. Diagrams, whether it's a crate or pallet, is going to show like this. Keep in mind, anytime you select a style diagram, whether it's for crates or pallets, you are pulling up a static image or a PNG image that is in Crate Pro. It is not going to reflect the materials that you are going to use. It is not going to reflect the actual dimensions. It is basically the construction of the crate. So even you might see however many 6 or 7 different deck boards here, and you dropped it down to 4. It's not going to change here. These are static images that are currently in Crate Pro. It's just showing you how they go together, how the material is situated at, in relation to other materials. So keep that part in mind when your staff is going to use, for example, that cut list by material. They're going to see exactly how many boards are going to be on that particular pallet, and same concept on that particular crate. Okay? We also offer a customer quoting feature, which is, you can give the customer a friendly quote. This is much like a letter. You have the ability to also include a basic image, no image, what's called a wireframe image or a textured image. This, of course, has to be set up first of all. If you don't want it in English, if there's another language you would like it in, you can just modify this form in your preferences. I didn't add a customer, so it doesn't say, Dear John or Dear Smith or anything like that. And you have to put a signature line, but you can also decide, do you want a general representation of the pallet or crate that you are making for this person? Again, completely up to you. So it's very quick to generate pallets. It will also give you the length of time, and these numbers do need to be tweaked a bit because they're based on an average crating company. Pallets can be faster, they can be slower. It just depends on what type you're building, but these times will get tweaked a bit. Your prices are going to show your cost. Now, this is a key. Your costs are coming directly from the inventory module where you enter what you pay for those materials. When you get the program, there are some common costs in there, but based on every company's region, your costs or what you pay are going to be based on your region and who you buy from. Okay, so the quantities. So your costs will be reflected of what you do. Your labor time, hours, and costs are also going to be based on how much you pay your people. Your preferences module is going to let you enter what is your labor cost, and it will be in your currency because when you set up the program, you set up your currency and your currency symbols. You will not use US, so it's whatever you're using, you can set it up here. There's a cost and there's a billing rate. Well, you may not have a cost and billing rate to earn profit on labor. There's all different ways of setting this up. Some companies just use a markup. Some companies only mark up when they're using the materials. They're not marking up on labor. There are lots of variables, and of course, as part of your setup, we'd want to go over those and make sure you've set them up appropriately. But that should give you an overview on the crate designs, and there are lots of pallets in here, all different kinds that you can use as far as pallets if that's where you're starting. You have the ability to choose skids. These are somewhat similar to pallets, okay, but they aren't pallets. They're basically crate bases, and that's what a skid is. And of course, oops, I'm jumping all over the place here. And then we have our crates, of which there's over 400 style templates to get started with, and they all can be modified in the design as you are creating them.